can't believe I'm Die Hard also. I can't wait to Die Hard 2. To Die Too Hard. What else is there?
Too hard.
Too hard to... Too hard to... What's up, people of the interwebs? It's your fellow hit players. We are back for another fun one. This week, we are doing a movie that is a source of hot debate on the interwebs in terms of what genre this movie fits in, which I think we're going to partake in that debate as well here for like 2 seconds.
It's not a debate.
I feel like we're all on the same. Anyways, we'll get to that when we get to it.
Right.
But yeah, we watched the Bruce Willis Die Hard, the original 1988 classic that is, in a lot of ways, made Bruce Willis's career and kind of was a good little bookend for the decade of the 80s, you know, with the Terminators, this various Sylvester Stallone movies, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and now Bruce Willis movies. 3 icons of a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I think this movie is a perfect just bow, you know, pun intended because of it's Christmas.
Right.
A little bow on the present for the decade of the 80s. Mm-hmm. But Claire, you were the one, surprisingly, I guess not surprisingly, considering, you know, people probably know what kind of movies me and James watch.
Yeah, I was just saying, kind of track.
But you were the one who had seen this movie prior to this. Neither me nor James had seen it.
Yeah. So, like you said, like these two hadn't seen it at all. But it was a not a Christmas tradition, mind you, but it was one of those films that my family and I have seen, I think, a couple times.
Yeah.
Over the holiday time because it's a Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
But my family are those people where that's our definition of a Christmas movie.
Okay.
So yeah, when you guys said you had never seen it before at all, I was shocked because it is very like culturally significant. Yeah.
Well, you were arguing the opposite like 30 minutes ago.
It was the historical part where I was like, but like it. I mean, a lot of people reference it. A lot of people know it. It's very like it comes up in a ton of things. Every cheap action movie makes a callback to Die Hard at some point. So yeah, so it was just very surprising that you guys had
the BC AD of the modern action flick, the modern action blockbuster.
Exactly, yeah. It's timeless, some might say.
The birth of Christ, if you will.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far.
In terms of movie making. James, your I guess expectations heading into this movie, did you have any?
My expectations of the movie itself was that it was just an 80s action film.
Yeah.
And that is a whole genre unto its own that I have little interest in engaging with whatsoever, outside of maybe 1 or 2 films, like you brought up the Terminator movies. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of action movies to begin with, and the 80s are a decade where I feel like those movies regressed.
Yeah.
Regressed?
Yeah.
Some might say progressed.
Some might say that.
In the history of action filmmaking, you could make that argument. I think that there are later decades where things get a little bit better, in my opinion.
Well, 80s is also when it becomes like the genre for American, like the
absolutely
mass American audience.
Yeah.
Right. So there's going to be a couple of like $5 bargain bin type of movies.
Oh yeah,
and there are a lot of them.
Some people really like that. There's a specific campiness and cheesiness to these films.
Yeah.
That some people love it for that reason. Some people love it because they don't know otherwise. And I am neither one of those 2 people. Just historically, I never have been.
Sure.
And sure enough, I felt the exact same way about this film at the end of the day. As for it being a Christmas movie, that argument...
We're not going to get there.
No, it's important to bring up because I think part of the reason why this movie has been, you know, not just because it's been like influential to other action films, but people our age
still talking about it
because there's an argument about it, whether or not it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah. And
now this movie will show on TV on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
When previously it never did.
20th Century Fox cut out trailer that shows it as a Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like that argument alone was part of the expectation of it takes place during Christmas time. It's going to have Christmas stuff in it. I see the argument a little bit differently now, but I guess we'll get into that later.
angry right now. I'm not gonna lie. I
For
feel like we should
context, I
open
do
with
see
it.
both sides. I do see both arguments, but
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So expectations just met. Succeeded?
Expectations were subverted, and then met.
That's where I'm at.
Would you say that you were significantly whelmed for the entire time?
No,
Not under, not over.
so
Just
one of the having never seen this film before, but having heard a lot of conversation about it, one of those pieces was just thematically John McClane's influence as a character being the everyman of action films, which I think we see more often now than we did previously. I mean, super buff men are part of the staple of 80s action films. Bruce Willis, for as muscular as he is nothing compared to...
it's kind of trippy.
He's not Stallone nor Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. And so I had heard this film only really spoken of, at least seriously, in those kinds of contexts about its influence on other action films. Be that Bruce Willis's everyman kind of blue-collar attitude as an action hero, be it Hans Gruber and his methodical intelligence as a villain, which I was surprised to see people say that was new, that his approach, as a terrorist, the fact that he had a plan in place, he wasn't just an evil guy trying to take over the world, essentially, that was a revolutionary new way of approaching a villain. Other than that, as I clear my throat.
You made a Word document before heading into
Got an Excel spreadsheet prepped and ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm just reading the Wikipedia page as I'm watching the film.
We know, yeah.
You were on your phone way more often than I was.
I've seen this 3 times.
Nevertheless. Another part of this film that really surprised me was the actual directing itself from James McTierney.
Tierney, something like that. I'll look it up.
Tyranids?
The very beginning of this film, I thought that definitely subverted my expectations. I mean, the super washed out sunset orange of Los Angeles. I'm like, this is not what I expected from something people call a Christmas movie. By the time they get inside the building and it's night and they're just in these corridors and ventilation ways and elevator shafts, it loses some of that stylisticness, which brings it more back to being an action film, in my opinion.
John McTiernan, who also did Predator.
Did he? Was that before or after?
You really asked after he tossed it to the side.
I should have checked. That was right before.
Okay.
This movie came out in 88. Predator came out 87.
So he's an action movie guy.
Yeah. It feels that way.
And it shows. The use of slow motion. I knew that. I knew the slow motion scenes.
Yeah.
I even knew the ending. Not the part that we reacted to.
Yeah.
But the actual, resolving of the terrorist plot.
This, spoiler alert, the Alan Rickman hanging off the thing is the, did you know that Viggo Mortensen broke his toe kicking that helmet for the Lord of the Rings?
It really is.
Because I feel like a lot of people will mention, oh, did you know that he was suspended and the cable snapped? It's like, yeah.
Yeah,
we know.
You keep bringing it up.
Everybody talks about it.
This movie's been out for 40-some years. Or almost 40-some years.
Yeah, so I was at least surprised. The parts of this film that subverted my expectation the most was, one, the cinematography, particularly at the beginning. And two, the amount of just conversation.
Yeah, this movie.
People yap.
We all made comments that this movie is. We were all like, "Was that 2 hour and 10-minute movie?"
Yeah.
And then watching it, I was like, "That it makes sense why this is a 2 hour and 10-minute movie."
There's definitely, and this is more of a criticism than it is just like a outright, what my expectations were. But there is an extent to which I feel like a lot of the, from my modern perspective, those conversation scenes could either be shortened or outright cut out, and the characterization isn't lost.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is because this is an action film, and there's not much character to begin with anyway. You don't really need much. Nevertheless, there's also side characters and side stories that I feel like could have been merged in a better way. I'm talking about the news station.
What do you mean? I feel like that was integral to the plot.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. There's this new station is the one I have the biggest gripe with.
Yeah.
There is the cop on the ground who does absolutely nothing.
The
and yet
cop on the ground, I didn't mind. His boss, or the actual like
Yeah.
detective who takes over.
There are those two guys.
Yeah.
There's the limo driver that they
Yep.
just cut to every 15 minutes.
Again, integral to the plot.
There's a lot of those moments where I'm like, yeah, this could have been 15 minutes just
Yeah.
out.
And this movie does something that I did admire, which is the villains kill people
Yeah.
and they just keep moving.
Yeah.
Right? Like nobody gets in their way. And I at least appreciated that, right? But there are so many people in this film who didn't have to be there and they don't get in the way. So why were they there to begin with?
Yeah.
They didn't really do anything, in my opinion. And yes, they worked the news people into the story with the reveal of the children, but like there was other ways you could do that. The photo was there in the office the whole time.
Or just have the sergeant like cross-reference it, like, oh, he's
Yeah.
from New York. Let me go check to see if there's a guy in New York who's coming to LA. Oh, your guy is on vacation in LA? Whoa, that must be our guy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those silly things where I'm like, no.
It shows its age.
It's
is I
an
think
80s movie,
How
yeah.
I would put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen better stuff from the 80s. I wouldn't
I mean,
necessarily
sure,
say that.
but like for an action film,
I've seen better.
yeah. I mean, yeah. But like, again, you're over here like, oh yes, of course, these like pinnacles of cinema that we were going to reference for 100 years, and then I'm going to compare.
Okay,
it
but
to
Die Hard is in the Library of Congress. It is considered one of those pinnacles.
So is Shrek, James Hardy.
I feel like Shrek is against your argument because Shrek has none of that. Shrek is a very coherent movie. It has every plot thread is resolved.
This
Movie,
movie,
it's not a high level of barrier for entry in the Library of Congress. Clearly,
what this movie does different from action movies in the past elevates it above everything else in the genre. Everything else it does is worse than everything else in that genre.
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
And the only reason people are talking about it is because it takes place in December.
The best of all time.
And it was awesome.
It was the best of times. It was the worst,
worst
of
of
times. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my review in a nutshell.
I enjoyed it thoroughly, other than like the weird cuts to random characters and weird
Yeah.
plot.
No, John McClane's story
Yeah.
is what I wanted to see.
Yeah. I mean, there was the first time he. Spoiler alert.
It's a 40-year movie.
I'm still gonna spoiler alert it. When he. Now you made me lose my train of thought.
The first time when he...
Yeah, when they all come down and he kills that first guy, and they're doing like that cat and mouse game in the abandoned office buildings or
Yeah.
like construction zone.
Yeah.
And they're like running back and forth. They're like chasing each other, shooting each other. I was like, ooh, this is good. This is good. I'm actually like, let me stand up. And then we got to like the fifth time of that, and they're talking to each other, and I'm like, all right. And he's having a heart-to-heart with his pen pal over the radio, and I'm like, all right.
There's
And then
definitely
the
pacing
ending
issues.
happened, and the actual like literal last scene happens, and I'm like, all right. Like,
It's
what are we doing
really
here?
a testament to the movie's terrible pacing that
Yeah.
John McClane goes into action without any hesitation as soon as he sees the terrorists and their
Yeah.
guns. Like he is on the move and he has at the ready. And then at a certain point, every scene is followed by him on the radio talking to somebody, followed by Hans on the radio talking to somebody, followed by the detectives on the radio talking to somebody, followed by a shootout, followed by him back on the radio talking to somebody. And I'm like, are you guys supposed to like be hearing each other? Like
There were a lot of those scenes too. Yeah, that's the
You
best
don't
part.
understand. It's peak. It's cinema. You just don't understand the vision.
That's the funny. That part was funny to me. I did have a lot of those moments.
I can understand that if you watched this movie when you were really young,
Yeah.
you would like it more.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, obviously people who grew up during the 80s, it makes sense why people think that this is an amazing action film.
I always say, anything you watched between the ages of 12 to 16, you think is the coolest thing ever, and nobody will ever convince you otherwise. And I think
And
this
it's not
movie,
wrong.
I mean, I think this movie would fit that category. It's like, like I've gotten in arguments where I'm like, The Matrix isn't that good, and people are like, you shut your whore mouth, and I'm like, I mean, have you watched it in the past like 5 years?
Here's a thesis on why it's not. Like,
But I think that's just it. I mean, like I have those movies too. Like if somebody's like Top Gun's not that good, I'm like, yeah, you're an idiot and you deserve to like get sent to Russia. You communist, get out of my face. So I don't hold anything against
course,
people
yeah.
who are like, Die Hard's the greatest movie of all time. Like, yeah, it's good, it's fun, but there's a lot of that cop character, man. He is.
It's partially why I was excited to show it to you guys when you were like, we haven't seen Die Hard. I was like, we gotta talk about Die Hard because like I said, I've seen it a few times. I know it is not anything truly special.
Yeah.
It does some cool stuff, but it's really just
It
like
does do a lot of cool stuff.
yeah, it's just its own thing at the end of the day. And I was like, I knew you guys were gonna be like, I figured the outcome of this almost exactly as I expected. James was gonna be like, wow, this was 2 hours of my life I'm never getting back. If this same movie was done where everybody was speaking French the entire time, his opinion of it would have gone up 2 points.
Or black and white.
Just teasing you, bud. And I expected you afterwards to be like, wow, that sucks, but also, hey, babe, new character unlocked.
No, he's John McClane's he talks too much for me. I'm more of a dark and brooding kind of pick your character.
Like I said, I was a 50-50. Got a D.
Really, the only part that completely turned me off this film was the actual final scene.
Yeah.
Once they're out back in
Yeah.
the lobby.
That was
It's such a massive tonal shift.
So dumb.
that's the director being like, wait, we have a Christmas movie on our hands.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's like, congrats, Sergeant. You were absolved of killing a 13-year-old boy accidentally by killing a terrorist.
Yeah.
Who had no
Who was
right to
not
still
even
be alive.
Yeah, who's not even really a terrorist.
It's terrible.
So excited for that. So you have no idea how excited I was to hear you guys just do the audible "what the fuck" at them driving into the sunset.
That was immediately immersion breaking.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so dumb. It would not happen. Even back then, it
Or
wouldn't happen.
when they're hugging like their best friends. I'm like, you guys have been on the radio, talked to each other for a total of 5 minutes, max 5 minutes. How are you guys embracing like that? Like this motherfucker has done nothing.
It is definitely I think
Solidarity.
a nice time capsule
Yeah.
of that period.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And just how things worked back then. Because obviously, the thing that took me immediately out of it on this rewatch, was like 5 minutes in, and he stands up, he's got a gun in the freaking airplane. I was
yeah.
like, it would not happen anymore. Like, I was just like, wow, this movie's old.
Don't worry, I'm a cop, buddy.
Yeah.
It's like, that makes me even more scared.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think what took me out of it immediately, and I was like, oh yeah, this is an 80s movie, was when he's driving, like 2 scenes later, he's driving, and the guy's like, yeah, what you need? I got a phone, a VCR, a DVD player, ice maker, you need a soda, you need a drink. And I'm like, I have all that right here.
Yeah. It was the cassette tape. It was this dude who does not work at this company with no prior like notification of who he is, walking into a building and being like, hey, I'm coming up to the Christmas party. And the guy being like, how
Say
about
that.
it, sir?
Ted Bundy would have done numbers
God damn.
in every era. Yeah, I love watching 80s movies that are filmed in the 80s. They're made by people who lived through the 80s. I don't know why. They're just fun. It's not like it's not Stranger Things where it's like, let's take all the best part of the 80s. It's like, no. Give me all the weird stuff. Give me like the slapped on feel good endings. Give me like the weird dialogue. Give me the weird facial hair. Give me the hey pal 15 times in one scene. I love all of it. I love all of it.
Yeah. I'm watching Jane's opinion of this
I
film
am the
drop the more we
opposite.
talk about it.
I don't think there is a decade I like less than the 80s.
There's some good 80s movies.
Let's talk about why we're here. Is this a Christmas movie?
Well, is there a God or something with a plan for us?
Why are we here to hopefully monetize this so we can stop working regular jobs?
I know, right?
After watching this,
Yeah.
I am less convinced.
Oh, this is definitely not an 80s Christmas movie.
No.
1000%.
You guys are so incorrect. They mention Christmas like at least 7 or 8 times.
I previously okay. However,
I kept my mind open.
I did too. No snow.
Oh my god! I mean, to be fair, that was one of the requirements for a Christmas movie. It was what we said prior to watching it.
I would like to argue that the it needed snow argument was just it needed snow and have to have come out in December, and that was not one of the things we agreed upon.
This movie came out in July. It didn't
It
even
came
come
out
out
in
in
July.
December.
But we didn't agree on that definition of a Christmas
Oh,
movie.
whatever.
Anyway, continue your statement.
Not a Christmas movie.
I think the biggest detriment to it not being a Christmas movie is the fact that it came out in July.
Which I think is,
Like,
that I would agree with.
that's absurd to me that
Yeah.
people were just like, it's a Christmas movie. It's like, it came out when it was 85 degrees out.
But it takes place on the 24th. They drive off into the
Prisoners
sunrise.
comes out at Thanksgiving. You think that's a Thanksgiving movie?
Yes! Of course it is.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm less
I don't see
convinced.
it.
I
I
don't see
mean,
the vision.
half the reason I enjoy the argument is just because it makes a lot of people really annoyed for no reason.
I think it's funny that people get
Yeah.
annoyed. I
The only
love that.
people
That's
I
why
ever
I
see-
just like hard send it. I'm like, Die Hard's a Christmas movie. Like,
I think that's because the only people who ever get annoyed are the people who say it is a Christmas movie. They have to
To be
be
fair,
convinced.
I have seen more people say it is a Christmas movie than
Yeah.
it isn't. It's one of those like straw men.
I think people just agree with it because it's funny.
yeah. And
That's
I think
all.
also like in a genuine like maybe the first couple people to say it. Imagine you're like a dad in the mid 90s. You've watched the same Christmas specials like
Yeah.
6 or 7 times already.
Yeah.
You are losing your mind because your kids are just trying to do something. You need to just watch somebody shoot another person. Kids, this is a Christmas movie. It's got Christmas. Look at all the decorations. Now shut up and sit down. Like,
There's no decorations though.
there's
There are
Christmas
some
trees all over the
decorations.
place. He literally uses Christmas tape to tape the gun to the back of his body.
all right, fair enough.
Like
Yeah, I forgot
you
about
cannot
this.
argue that Christmas is not a theme in this film.
It's not
It's
a theme.
not a
it's
theme.
It's a setting.
It is, well, yeah, setting, not theme. Sorry. They mention
If
it
they had
at
done
least
it-
once a scene.
So what I was thinking when we were watching this movie in the beginning was, okay, estranged house and estranged husband and wife.
Yeah.
They're gonna use like this ordeal to somehow think that is gonna heal their trauma of their relationship,
yep, as
as
they go, yeah.
most movies do. I would like to see the success rate post the events of movies on whether or not those
watch Die Hard
marriages
2 next week.
on whether or not those marriages actually do succeed beyond traumatic ordeal. But what I was thinking was like, oh, okay, estranged marriage, like they're gonna use this, they're gonna use the idea of like, oh, it's Christmas, we're family, we need to get back together and this and that. And then he gets up to her and is like, they're like, yeah, we're still together. And I'm like, so this isn't a Christmas movie because they're apart, but they're not like
that's what
apart.
There is
are you?
no Christmas spirit. The
That too.
gift of the teddy
Yeah.
bear doesn't even get given.
Yeah.
It does at the end. It's in the
It's in the limo,
with
but
them.
it's meant for the kids. It doesn't get given.
Yeah, why doesn't it?
I think the spirit is there because, in case you were unaware, the Nakatomi gifts the terrorists with all those bail bonds that they don't get to use.
He didn't give it to him. He died.
I mean, yeah,
He
you know,
explicitly said, "I'm not giving it to you."
it's a gift in a sense. We could say the FBI did it then because they unleashed the clock.
I love to see the FBI being portrayed as dumber than the cops.
I love to see it. Yeah, it's so.
Oh,
good.
it's so. I love that was gonna be one of the things I love.
The scene where he's like, "This is just like Saigon," and he's like, "I was in middle school."
Yeah. That one did not click with me until this watch. Where he said he's like just like Saigon. I was like, whoa.
That's a bad battle to reference here, partner.
It's like, yikes, dude.
I will give this movie credit that it's funny.
Yeah,
Of course, yeah.
There's a lot.
This movie is hilarious.
This line is what is it? This frequency is for emergencies only. No shit, lady. Does it sound like I'm ordering a fucking pizza?
Oh my god.
That
I
was
love
such a
this-
good. That was good. That was good.
I think it really is just a turn your brain off movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that's what it's enjoyable about. But everybody and their mother likes to make it into something that it's really not. when it is just a, you could turn your brain
It's
off.
an action movie.
You can make the comment that like, hey, it has Christmas. We can put it on during Christmas time, and sure, we're watching a Christmas film, and we don't have to watch, Hallmark number 287, Hot Frosty or whatever the hell Netflix put out recently. Look that up. It's
I'm
not.
not looking it up. I'm looking up something else.
It's not great.
What do you do outside outside of this podcast?
Unlike
Jesus.
you guys, I take in all media.
Look, if you're on the internet for
That
long
explains a lot,
enough,
actually.
if you're on the internet long enough, you're gonna learn a thing or two
Yeah.
that you don't expect to learn.
Oh,
Look, I think the thing with Die Hard is that there is a conversation to be had around the movie in its place in action films.
yes.
I feel like that is far more interesting. The way it portrays Bruce Willis's masculinity, starting out as being almost emasculated by his marriage and his estrangement from his wife, to being this like hero where he's constantly like Hans Gruber saying, like, you're like John Wayne, right? You're like these other heroes,
Yeah.
but you're
Cowboy.
not that. Yeah, you're the cowboy. And he's like, well, I'm the only person who can do that at this moment, and I have the training and the tools to do it, so I have to do it. And he's constantly trying to give up, and then the cop, Powell is like, nah, you got it, you can do it, I love you. It's not homoerotic at all.
History will remember us as roommates.
Yeah.
But
It's not a Christmas movie.
you're breaking my heart, James.
Good. The truth hurts.
Any desire to watch any other Die Hard?
I always forget that they have sequels, and I should.
Oh,
I-
they
I-
have.
I don't really feel like I should
multiple
watch them,
sequels.
but maybe I will.
I've seen what was the one I told you? Live Free or Die Hard.
Yeah.
I watched that one.
No desire.
The only reason that one's cool is because he gets chased by an F-35 in the middle of New York.
Cool.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah, that's all you need. James, you have to remember, we're very simple creatures.
9-year-old me thought it was the greatest thing he'd ever seen. This is around the same time I was watching like Transformers and stuff. So, yeah, I thought it was sick.
Fair enough.
Sometimes, like
Like I said, anything between the ages of 12 to 16 is the coolest thing ever. Nobody will ever commit to otherwise.
9-year-old me was being made to watch Kurosawa.
there's something to be said about sometimes you want something that you can put on, and you know that within 10 minutes something's going to explode. And it's
do
just
like a
it's a
good
good
explosion.
background.
I do like a good explosion.
It's not like Oppenheimer where you spend 3 hours waiting for the explosion. You get the explosion right away.
Oh, that's not really what the movie's about, but okay. Completely different
Yeah.
genres, but all right.
Dude, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I know. Now you're getting it. You're understanding.
Anyways,
What does define a Christmas movie?
I think it's holiday spirit. I think that's
It's Christmas spirit.
that's what it is.
I could agree with that. Yeah.
There's
I
a lot of
think
movies
Christmas
that take place
needs to
around
be-
Christmas.
Yeah. It needs to be mentioned
By
in whatever,
name?
Well,
in whatever fashion. Whether
that-
that's just like there's
Yeah, that's kind of
Snow.
It's kind of given.
yeah.
or it's released in December.
Yeah.
And then it needs to just have the holiday spirit.
So, by proxy, Rise of Skywalker
Does not have any.
is
type
a Christmas
of,
movie.
No, it has no mention of Christmas whatsoever.
It's released in December. It
Nuh-uh.
has
Release
snow.
date does not matter.
It has
It's
snow.
in the film.
I actually think release date matters.
I think release
Quite a
date
bit.
matters.
You don't release a holiday movie in the summer.
Yeah, but like that's
Okay.
that's every square or every rectangle is a square, but not every square is a rectangle, or the vice versa,
From-
whatever it is, I can't remember.
November, the beginning of November to Christmas Day. Anything in that time period is in contention for whether or not it's a Christmas movie.
Yes, correct.
No, incorrect. There's like horror films that get put out during that time frame.
Only
I
because,
think I say it's in contention. Doesn't
only
mean that
because studios
is
need movies to come
definitive.
That's what I'm
out.
saying.
Yeah.
The release date does not matter. Unless you are actively marketing it as a Christmas movie and then you release it in July. Then it matters.
We're gonna get there eventually. I think eventually we'll get there. I think eventually you'll start to realize what we're trying to say.
No, I get what you're saying. I'm saying you can't use it as a qualifier for something that doesn't hit any of the other beats. Like
Oh,
The
I
Force
don't
Awakens.
think I don't think Star Wars is.
Okay.
I'm just saying that to piss you off. Put your
can't-
words.
you can't use that.
No, I don't actually think it is.
Oh,
I don't actually think it is.
I think movies can have holiday spirit and
Yeah.
not be released during Christmas time.
sure, yeah.
But I think if I'm gonna say that this thing is found under the Christmas movie like tab on Netflix, I expect it to have been released during the holiday season.
I'm gonna double check our work on that to see what the most popular Christmas movies and when they were released.
I need to look up something too.
Find me an explicit Christmas movie with Santa Claus and reindeer and presents and
Let's see when they
snow
were released.
that wasn't
how about,
released.
Jack Black's Santa. How about
Yeah.
that? Does that work for you?
One that was not released during the holiday season.
I'm trying to see when the actual Santa Claus movies came out.
Christmas
I mean, that's November. It still counts.
movies
Yeah,
not
that's my definition.
released.
I'm telling you guys.
I need to look up. There's one
During-
specific one that I'm thinking of that doesn't qualify, but I'm curious when it came out.
Arthur Christmas.
The first thing I searched Christmas movies not released during the holiday season. Number 1 on my list, Die Hard. God damn it, Google.
Well,
Google got bought out by 20th Century Fox.
All right, I have sad news.
Yeah.
Apparently, also Iron Man 3 no longer qualifies because it was in May.
there you go.
Yeah.
Even though they once again expressly relate to the fact the movie takes place in Christmas multiple times.
There you
But
go.
I mean, this movie takes place at Christmas because they needed hostages and they needed to be after hours.
hmm It's a Christmas party.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why it needed to be Christmas. It couldn't be like a random week
Yeah.
in.
Of course, it could have. They literally
November.
said that they're like, this isn't really
No,
for
no, no.
Christmas.
They
this
needed
is for
hostages. They needed it to be after hours.
Yeah.
You can't
Okay.
get hostages after hours if nobody's at work.
As-
Unless
Isaac.
it's a Christmas party.
As the only person here who has worked in corporate, you can definitely have a corporate party that would have prisoners or not hostages working in the building after hours. It is very not so much anymore. Back then, it was super common.
I would know. I've tried.
Because they even say it's a
Claire's
plot
on a
point.
watch list.
It's a plot point in the film where they're literally like, before everything goes down, they're like, yeah, it's not really just
All right.
for Christmas. It's for because we sold off a big budget.
I got a couple. You
What
ready
you
for
got?
this one? So you said you wanted specifically reindeer and Santa Claus. Can I give you the original Miracle on 34th Street that was
When did that come
released
out?
May 2nd, 1947?
Wow.
Yikes.
They had no hope for that movie whatsoever.
Let's see.
I've never seen that one either.
There's A Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's true.
Is that one a Christmas movie?
Yes. That has Santa in it.
It was released October.
That has snow. That has Santa. That talks about.
I'll give that
Christmas.
one the pass. It's covering 2 holidays. It's that weird,
Yeah.
like...
It's a holiday season movie.
Yeah.
It's not Christmas specific. It has more Halloween spirit than Christmas spirit.
Have you watched the movie?
All right, so make sure you guys tune into part 2 where we debate if...
I mean, that is
Nightmare
technically
Before
next week.
That
Christmas
is going to be the
holiday
next.
That is
Yeah.
technically next week.
We'll
Little
save that
spoiler.
argument then.
Like, I'm about to throw down. I'm already ready to beat the shit out of both of you for this one.
Sorry that we're right.
You're not.
Let's see.
There are definitely movies that have winter vibes to them, and I like watching them during the holiday season.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of movies that have nothing to do with the holiday season that I watch during Christmas that I associate with it directly.
Yeah.
They don't have Christmas spirit, and I'm going to go out of my way to say that they're Christmas movies, though.
Because you're, weak. Stand by your convictions.
What's one? What's one for you?
I don't know. I can't think of any right now.
You don't
to
have
be
any?
honest. I don't really watch Christmas movies, James. A lot of them are really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
fair.
why I go to I'm like, oh, I need a Christmas movie. Let me put on Die Hard.
All right. Where would you rank Die Hard?
I'd give it an A.
Correct answer.
I was going to say just a B.
Oh, that's higher than I expected. I figured you put it in C.
There was enough that I did enjoy, like Hans Gruber as a character. Loved listening to him, right? John McClane as an action hero. Loved seeing him do his stuff, figure
Yeah.
out his
Yeah.
way in and out of all the, different rooms. There's a lot of extraneous plot elements that I would have done without, but the movie is however many years old it is now at this point.
It is what it is.
Shows its age. It's
Yeah,
nice.
I'm not going to, expect them to take it back to the editing room.
You're not calling him up right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Like,
George
listen.
Lucas supercut.
Yeah.
If somebody mentioned a Die Hard, I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's good. That's a good movie.
Mhm.
I would just never watch it again. Which I feel like it's one of those things that like the internet has propped up as being like, you can't criticize this,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And I'm like,
But
it's bad.
yeah,
And you're all wrong that it's not a Christmas film.
You are wrong that it is a Christmas film.
Yeah, you definitely said not.
Yeah, I was using a double negative. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to look into still that.
It still doesn't work out. Your double negative still
Shut up.
fails.
Where'd you rank this?
I said no.
Eh?
I agreed with you. And it is not just bias because I watched it when I was a kid and I like action films. Like I just enjoy it.
Chronicles of Narnia.
Again, it
has snow.
It's a winter vibes.
We cannot just use snow as a classifier. For people that grew up in the South, where snow is a myth, we cannot use.
Was
snow.
released December 9th.
Okay,
It's
now we're
in
talking.
contention.
Now you're pulling my ear.
Okay. So what we've come to a conclusion here is there are categories. There
Yes.
are movies that take place during Christmas.
Mhm.
There are Christmas movies that exude Christmas spirits. And then there's that weird overlap of the two where they have neither of those qualities.
But they
Where
just happen to be released in December.
Yeah, they're released in December, but they don't show Christmas spirit. That's like a weird third
Yeah.
section here.
Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker.
And then Die
Force
Hard
Awakens is
like,
up in that.
Wait, I have to look up.
Yeah.
No, keep talking.
What
keep
are you
talking.
gonna look up?
I just have to. There's a thought that just popped in my head. and I
All
have to
right.
look up.
Well, I got not much else to say about Die Hard. I mean, well, okay. What's your thought?
So we agree that if it's released in December, it hits under a classification, right?
It's in contention.
It's in
It's
contention.
in contention, right?
All right, guys,
Thanksgiving to Christmas Day.
hear me out. The hit horror slasher Thanksgiving about the killer Thanksgiving turkey.
That's at least holiday
If it
season.
exudes holiday spirit, it's a holiday movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it does in a sense.
I mean, Krampus. Holiday horror movie.
When did Red One come out?
November.
Yeah.
November?
I said from November 1st to Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
So there you go. Didn't Marley and Me come out on Christmas Day?
That's not a Christmas movie. That's the exact opposite of Christmas
well,
holiday
Yeah, if we're,
spirit.
if we're talking about tragedies, what about Bridget Terabithia? Did that come out?
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
If you want to follow us on more stuff, Instagram, hitplay.pod, Spotify.
Hit play.
Yeah.
Hit the play button.
Next week, we're going to continue this argument.
Next week is animated
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
holiday movies.
It's a blanket one
Yeah.
So
where we will continue this argument.
there is a specific one that has an anniversary. There's a specific one that has an anniversary, but I'm sure we're going to bring up lots of topics, and it'll probably get highly debated again. So
Yeah.
We can talk
I'm
about
bringing it back.
animated Christmas movies and possibly in contention holiday spirit animated.
okay,
movies.
that's too broad of a subject.
I'm
we
just
need
saying.
we have to like.
No, I think it'll be fine. I don't think there's a lot there for
There's
us to
not a
talk
lot there to begin with. No.
It's going to be this argument for an hour, and then we'll just call it a day.
Well,
Yeah.
we're also doing a celebration of a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like we'll talk about that for 10 minutes, and then we'll have the argument.
It's
for
no. When do we ever talk about a movie for? All right, we'll get off of there. We'll get off.
See you guys.